Yo, what is going on, guys? We're back today for another video on the roadmap. Now, this is part number 3, and it was my most anticipated portion of all this, talking about champions of the contest. So this includes, champions being buffed, acquiring these champions, crystals, all that stuff. So to tell you guys a couple of chances of getting buffed, I don't know if I put in the thumbnail or not. I probably did. Falcon, Punisher 2099, and Gambit are all getting buffs, man. That is awesome. All those guys suck. So to see them getting buffed is great. We're going to talk about more about how these buffs are going to work, some of the categories champions we put into. And then we're also going to be talking about some brand new crystals that are going to be coming to the game to help with just targeting certain champions. Right now it's 150 champs in the basic pool. That's ridiculous if you want a specific champion. It's less than a 1% chance. So we're talking about that, and also Scarlet Witch is confirmed coming as a 5-star. So that is awesome. Here we have Kabam Ian and Kabam Kamish, two guys that I've met at Comic-Con. Talked to both of them quite a bit. They're both really good dudes. So yeah, man, let's jump in. I'm going to try to focus on the important information here. Some of these videos get over 20 minutes, and I'm just going through all the information. I'll try to focus on some of the more specific stuff. But basically, for this portion here, champions that were made in 2015 are very different from the ones that are made now in 2020, which is very true. And they're just able to do a lot more now with the technology that they have. So they're going to be making champions more desirable, which is great, especially with some of the older champions. Choice doesn't have to mean complexity. Reducing champion complexity. Some people do complain about this a lot. We use the phrase, no champion can be strong if you can't understand it. Now, what I don't want is for them to, not make any complex characters, because some of the coolest characters to play and that I have the most fun with are complicated characters that, it's very complex at first, but once you learn them and use them to their full potential, that's great. So hopefully we don't lose that. I don't think we're going to lose that, just maybe a bit less. They're saying they'd like to move more of the complex decision-making between picking your team and starting a fight, things like pre-fight and cross-fight, which I do like these abilities. I think they're both great additions, so that is cool. But these allow for decisions to be made without the time, pressure, and extra distraction of being mid-fight, or for your decision, success, or mistakes to have influence in later fights. So yeah, that's interesting. I do want to see more of that, but I still do like having some complex characters. So hopefully we don't lose that. So some stuff here. More stuff in a kit isn't always better. In fact, it's usually worse. Keep it focused, impactful, and easy to understand. We're moving more of the decision making outside of fight, so it's less stressful and doesn't have to be memorized, which is interesting. But hopefully there's still some champions where you do want to memorize stuff, and there's cycles and the rotations and how to play them, and it's a little complicated at first, but once you worth it, it's worth learning. That's what I love. So interactive but predictable. So it's interesting. So we need a simple set of rules that can be applied in any situation that will produce consistent results. We've gotten far better at being intentional with laying down these rules and sticking to them. There's a lot of older champions and abilities which were built with a more how can I do this attitude and less about how should I do this attitude. We're going to start investing more time and effort into going back to clean up these older champion interactions while trying to be as consistent and precise with our language as possible. For example, is this ability guaranteed, or does it have a 100% chance to trigger? This description for that ability should precisely reflect that difference, so you know how your champions will interact with it. This is great, man. Some champions' abilities, I read this, like Dormammu. You get a signature ability, and it's like, as the fight goes on, the chance increases. Well, what does that mean? What is the chance? What is it increasing to? Like, I need specifics. I need the numbers. I need to know to make well thought out calculations and decisions in my fights. Give me the numbers. Make it so it's precise. That's great to hear. But now this thing. So this was the whole She-Hulk debacle. Debacle? That's the right word. Where we rallied and we got rank down tickets, but they didn't want to give them out at first because they were fixing something that should have been fixed. And it was their rules. That's what they used. Their She-Hulk breaks the rules. Now, Kabam needs to tell us what these rules are. They need to lay out a rule book of how stuff is supposed to work so we know. Because with She-Hulk, basically, you could keep throwing her heavy attacks really fast and keep connecting them, and that was against the rules. it wasn't meant to be in her abilities, so they took it out. They nerfed her. So yeah, we need to know those rules. But so consistency in how new abilities are worded and interact across different champions, buffs, etc. Investing in cleaning up of older inconsistent abilities that don't follow the rules. Again, we need to know what these rules are. Now we get to balancing. So this is gonna be an interesting portion. I'm very interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this. But they're talking about the balance of the game. But balance means both directions, up and down. Otherwise, we run a serious risk of just increasing champion power forever, which in turn creates a situation where it's very tempting to create content for only the latest and greatest champions, leaving the rest of the roster on the bench. We know that investing in a champion is a big deal, and having some game designer come along and change it on you can really hurt. So while it will occasionally be necessary, we're going to try and avoid it where we can. Not going to rush anything, and we'll make sure we account for the effort you've put in to chase and rank up your champions. Now, so let's start talking about this. Nerfs will occasionally be necessary, man. It's interesting because, what would you guys rather have in the game? Very few really good champions that do very specific content. That's the way it is right now. And those champions never get changed. And there's a lot of very undesirable champions that you normally pull from your crystals. That's the way it is right now. Would you rather it be like that, or would you rather it be changed so that there's a lot less undesirable champions to be pulled? They're a lot better overall characters. The really overpowered characters are brought down a peg, and the content isn't so restricted to a certain amount of champions. Because if you want that second state, Kabam wants to nerf some of those super overpowered characters. Now, personally, I'm not sure. It's, I obviously with my account, I've played the game trying to acquire the best champions, to acquire the best roster, to be prepared for everything. And I spent money and a lot of time on it. So, if my favorite champions that I've worked so hard for get taken down, I don't know how I feel. And no compensation can make up for the amount of money I've spent on them unless they give me my money back, which I know they're not going to do. So it's a very interesting scenario. So yeah, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see. Now, as far as nerfs that'll be necessary, when I think of that, champions that come to mind are Corvus, Ghost, Quake, Omega Red, maybe. Those are the champions that come to mind as some of the most powerful to me. So I don't know. I'm really very interested to hear your guys' thoughts and the entire community's thoughts on that portion. But let's stop focusing on the negative and now talk a bit more about the positive, because the rest of this entire post is extremely positive in my point of view. So looking to add value to underperforming champions, that's great to hear. Champion update, strike team to focus just on this. Basically, they have a team focused on updating champions. That's great. Primary goal is to buff up the bottom end of the roster before any potential nerfs. That is good. Make the good buffs before the nerfs. And now the buff roadmap. So basically, when they're going to be buffing a champion, it's going to fall into a category, one of these 4 categories. The first category is balanced champions that are good enough for now or better. Category number 2 is tune-up, no ability changes, just tuning up numbers. An example of this is Torch or Sentry. Update, numbers and minor ability changes, but largely the same kit, like Red Hulk or Carnage. And then overhaul, a whole new kit, think Hulkbuster or Colossus. So I like that there's like 4 categories for them to put these characters that need changes in. Not every character needs a big rework like Hulkbuster or Colossus. Some characters have like some really solid utility and could be a really good character. They just need their damage increase, and then they can actually be relevant. So I really do like this, and very excited to see eventually where it's going to be like 2 champions a month getting buffed. Obviously, it's not going to be 2 champions a month right away, but once they can build up to that, and it's every month we get 2 new buffed characters, that's going to be awesome. So What do we got here? Skipped a little bit here. This lets us group champions by the amount of effort it will take to polish them up and turn them around and send them back out to you, which in turn will let the team focus on smaller tune-ups while the larger ones take their time to work their way through the full release process, design approvals, betas, testing, and ultimately our goal is to get as many champions tuned up and back out into the meta in viable, interesting states as possible, as quickly as possible. We're starting out with a 3-build rotation, which will be 1 overhaul, build 1, overhaul, build 2, tune up, build 3, update, back to 1, and repeat. We're kicking this off with a bang with not 1 but 2 overhauls coming out the build after next, end of August. This is also just the beginning. We're going to expand the strike team with the target being to allow us to double this cadence, 2 of each per build, but we started on the smaller side so we can start right away. Our first full rotation through will be build 1 September, B28.12 overhauls, see the next section. So in September we'll have the 2 changed champions. I think that's what this is saying. So it will be coming out so at the end of August. So I don't know if that's like as a beta to test or if that's like finished product. But that'll be September. Build 2 is October, and the tune-up will be on Punisher 2099. So a tune-up on Punisher 2099. So what that means is no ability changes, just tuning up numbers. So that's actually good for Punisher 2099. This guy has a lot that he can do. You know, he has heal block, he has some power control. You know, he has some interesting mechanics. He just doesn't do any of them well. So, you know, he has some potential. So, you know, hopefully he gets better. And then in November, we have 2 updates. So an update will be numbers and minor ability changes, but largely the same kit. And that'll be for Gambit and Falcon. That is great to hear, man. You know, when I think of the worst champions in the game, Falcon and Gambit don't come to the top of the list, but they're definitely on the list. They're definitely up there. So that's great to see those 2 champions get an update. So now it's time to talk about Magneto. We all heard about Magneto, but the big question on everybody's mind is both Magnetos? Red Magneto? White Magneto? You know, everybody wanted to know. So it's both. It is both confirmed, but you know, they're not just going to be the same champion getting the exact same buff. We're giving both Magnetos a full kit overhaul. So regular red OG Magneto will focus on his villainous side, hunting enemy metal champions, while Magneto Marvel Now, the white one, will focus on his redemptive side, enhancing metal teammates. They're both coming out with the build at the end of August. So very interested to see these characters. I don't have either as a 6-star, but I know a lot of people do. Anyone who went for the last featured 6-star and pulled Magneto Marvel Now was probably just so disheartened. But now, this is some good news. So that's great. Now, we got some champion teases. So I do have one last thing before I hand off to Bam Kamish. The reason why we're working aggressively to have Magneto ready for the end of August, while Magneto and Magneto Marvel Now are to represent 2 polar opposites, there is an even more iconic duo that Magneto is part of. I wonder who that could be. Let me think about it. And I'm sitting in a chair. Who could that be? Professor X, man. That's awesome. We're finally going to be getting Professor X. I assume by that. Pretty sure. Like 98% sure that's who we're getting. Now, we panned off to Kabam Kamish to talk more about the crystals and some signature stones. So, some big stuff that's coming. Looking for ways to reduce randomness in champions over the next few months, plus 1 long-term feature. 5-star Wolverine in July, and I can confirm that this is not just referring to that skimpy little iOS offer we got. There's going to be Wolverine coming out to everybody in July through some means. I don't know what these means are, but he's going to be available as a 5-star in July. And then this one, man, finally it's confirmed. Scarlet Witch soon after summer. Soon after, I read that wrong. In this summer, dude, yes. Scarlet Witch is coming, boys. She's coming. That is insane. I gotta get ready. I gotta get my Awakening Gem, my 200 signature stones. Ooh. And then we got a crystal update. So short-term base pool tuning. So we're going to reduce overall inflation of hero pools with some more selective crystals. So what we're going to be getting here is basically they said specifically in the 4 and 5 star range, we'll also be looking at 6 stars as well, but expect it to be more limited than the 4 and 5 star options. But commish, that is too vague. Yeah, sorry, I know. Here's one change we're ready to announce, along with one in progress. Dual class basic hero crystals. So 10,000 shard, 5-star hero. So it's still going to be the same normal 10,000 shards for uncollected and cavalier summoners. One crystal with 2 classes. So the pools go mutant skill, science mystic, cosmic tech. Now I believe these just go in order of the way it is on a weekly basis. I think Monday is mutant, Tuesday is skill, science Wednesday, Thursday mystic, Friday cosmic tech, Saturday, right? So that's what they're doing. And on Sunday, I don't know what that'll be, but one crystal will appear for 24 hours, replaced by the second the next day, then the third, then back to the first. So mutant skill will appear day 1, day 4, day 7, etc. Targeted late July / early August. So that's awesome, dude. These crystals will just make it so much easier to go after specific champions. You know, if you have materials for a specific champion, you know, you have a Mystic Awakening gem after completing Labyrinth of Legends. You got your shards. You know, you want to obviously wait for that Mystic Crystal. You want that Doctor Doom. For me, you know, I am after Warlock. I want Warlock so bad. So now I can just focus on getting these tech crystals if I want to go that route to have a much better chance of getting that Warlock. So I really just like this, man. It's much easier to go after specific characters that you need for your roster. So that's great. Now, an improvement to 5-star and 6-star featured hero crystals. So improved selection of champions within the crystal, so a miss does not sting as much. The most recent 5-star featured being one example. Now, this is actually pretty funny because I've heard from many people in the community, a few YouTubers included, that they're just praising the current 5-star featured pool, saying it's one of the best we've ever had. And I mean, that's pretty funny. They're saying that, you know, and that the reason for that, I guess, is because this is what Kabam's trying to change with these featured crystals, which is great. That is great. This makes me honestly want to start saving my 6-star shards for the next featured one because it sounds like it's going to be pretty good. So yeah, that's awesome, man. That is really awesome because, you know, for example, the last 6-star featured crystal we had, it had misses like Joe Fixit and Magneto and there's some other Iron Patriot. Like, those are terrible misses, man. And yes, Magneto's getting buffed and the other two might get buffed, but at the time, like, that's terrible. So, you know, better featured pools for 15k shards, long overdue. Now, on the longer term, something called a wish crystal. So, one example of how this might look, a Cavalier crystal, but you choose 5 champions from each class, 30 total, to make up the crystal. This is farther off as the tech and development needed in-game to let players choose from a pool of champions. Then the tech to have the crystal contain the specific champions chosen by players is not a small amount of work. We are certain on wanting to build this crystal tech. The timeline on when it will arrive in the contest is less clear. We're aiming for a late 2020 / early 2021 timeline for now. Still a ways away, we know, but it's one way we can improve a player's agency on what champions they could get. This is why we want to try to move more quickly on some shorter term improvements before we can get the bigger solutions in play. So it sounds like they're working towards getting better crystals. So this is more of a short term solution. And then these wish crystals. So unique wish crystals that are customizable to you. Ability to more closely meet the wants of individual players. Targeted at late 2020, early 2021 timeline. This sounds pretty crazy, man. A wish crystal. I like the name. And now we get to what so many people want more of, signature stones. So signature stones, specifically 5-star versions, are an area we need to improve in game. They are a pain point that is exacerbated by the above issues where dupes of a champion you want are also harder to get. If you were more easily able to dupe a champ, you wouldn't need as many 6 stones. The availability of 5 or 6 stones needs to increase. There are many ways in which we can do this. The first step is with an update to solo events. So, you know, it sounds like they're updating. So hopefully it's not just 6 stones and we just get a big revamp to the solo events because these are outdated. These are about as outdated as something can be in MCOC. This is planned for sometime in late August or early September. In our update, we'll be adding more variation in events, more appropriate progression tiers, a new tier of solo crystal, goodbye XP boosts, that's great, and a bigger reward update than just the addition of signature stones. Our goal is that uncollected players will be able to get one 5-star 6-stone crystal per 22-hour event from milestones, and Cavalier players will be able to get one 5-star 6-stone crystal and one 5-star generic per 22-hour event from milestones. This is great, man. I think this is a decent amount of signature stones for uncollected players. I think it's pretty good. You can basically get one generic a day and one random one a day. That's pretty good. I'm very interested to see what other items are going to be in these 22-hour events. And hopefully they get rid of the questing one, which is ridiculous. So we're also looking at other modes where additional 6 stones would fit. We haven't locked down anything after solo events yet, but we are committed to increasing the amount of availability of 5-star signature stones and rewards. Solo events are just the first step. Just the first step sounds great. As for 6-star stones, we're not ready to make any comments just yet. Our plan is to take the feedback from the 5-star version and work on building a plan that prevents us from ending up in the same situation with the 5-star stones. Committed to increasing the number of 5 and 6-star 6 stones available to players. The first step is updated solo events. With updated events, progression tiers, a new solo crystal, and rewards. Uncollected, one 5-star 6 stone per 22 hours. Cavalier, one 5-star 6 stone crystal, and one generic per 22 hours. Additional places to get stones will be added as well. That's great, man. Really excited to see more signature stones, and very interested to see how they're going to do 6-star signature stones. But I'm still after 5-star stones personally. Especially recently, I want to get my Red Guardian to max sig. I wanted to get Magic to max sig. I want to get Guardian to max sig because I'm gonna get him. I have to get him. I mean, just, my logo, if I wear something made out of my logo, I'd look like Guardian. Legit. I need him. Now, outro. And Ian's back. Phew, that was quite a bit to chew on. If you're still reading all the way down here at the bottom, thank you for sticking with us. We hope we managed to address many of your most pressing questions. We know it's not possible for us to have touched on everything you want to hear about, but that's why we're going to work hard to continue to improve our ability to listen and hear you. Questions and concerns, as well as communication back to you. So expect to hear more on these topics and more in the coming weeks and months. On a personal note, I'd like to call out special thanks to a couple groups that were integral to making this series happen. Number one, our community team for herding all the cats to get this whole series out. To you, the CCP program for helping us find and focus on the right topics while providing invaluable players' perspectives. And 3, last but most importantly, all of you, the summoners of the contest. Without you, none of this would be possible. So thank you for giving so much. Maybe that meant so much of your time and passion in this game that we all love. That's it for today. See you all in the contest. Kabam, Ian, Leech, Game Designer. So, wow, I'm already over 20 minutes. I'm sorry, guys. But, yeah, this sounds dope, man. 6 stones. I feel like this is a good first step. Like they said, very good first step to seeing more signature stones. Very, very excited to see these crystals that are coming. These wish crystals sound pretty cool. But in the meantime, these are definitely a good addition to the game. I'd like to see Nexus crystals as well. Maybe on Sunday you could get a Nexus crystal or something to be the last day. Just a regular 5-star Nexus, but maybe put a purchase limit on it so you can't just wait for Sunday and then buy them all. Maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy. Let me know which champion you're most excited for that is getting buffed. Is it one of the Magnetos? If so, which one? Or Punisher, Gambit, or Falcon? If you have one of those as a 6-star, man, I bet you're smiling right now. I have Punisher as a 6-star. That's the only one. So I'm most excited for him, I guess. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope that you did enjoy. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. Drop a like. I'm sure most of you watching didn't make it to the end, but that's okay. If you just clicked on the video, I appreciate it. Subscribe if you like some more content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy Canada Day, and peace out.